good morning to everyone. I'm very, very happy to be here with my friends and colleagues from across the country. Attorney General Bob Ferguson of Washington State, Attorney General Kwame Raoul of Illinois, Attorney General Maura Healey of Massachusetts, and Attorney General Rob Bonta of California. These AGs have been working tirelessly on this important issue for years. I'm proud to partner with them in this important announcement today. We're here today to announce that we have come to a $1.85 billion settlement with the loan servicing companies Navient Corporation and Navient Solutions LLC, formerly known as Sallie Mae, for their abuses against Americans with student loans. Navient will cancel $1.7 billion in debt for more than 66,000 people nationwide and provide another 350,000 borrowers who were manipulated into forbearances with $95 million in restitution. My colleagues will go into details about the abuses and the details of our settlement. But the bottom line is this: Navient knew that people relied on their loans to make a better life for themselves and for their children. And instead of helping them, they ran a multi-billion-dollar scam. Our collective work, uncovered two schemes. First, Navient made predatory, subprime private loans to students that it knew would struggle to pay them back. And this conduct took place before 2009. The second scheme, after graduation, starting in 2009, when borrowers of federal loans serviced by Navient were struggling to make their payments, the company actively steered these borrowers into payment plans that racked up more interest when Navient could have provided them with a more affordable, income-driven option. Look, Navient was more focused on making money, not serving the people that they were trusted to help. Sallie Mae was given a special mission to help Americans finance their education and launch a career. Instead, their practices burdened hundreds of thousands with debt and helped hold back a generation from buying their first home, starting a family, launching a startup business, expanding their farming operations, whatever the case may be. 39 attorneys general have joined our settlement, and we are all sending the same message. We will not tolerate corporations who break the law and take advantage of the people that they're supposed to serve. I understand that despite the ongoing pause in payments for federal student loans, many across the country want a permanent solution from our federal government. As it stands right now, nearly 45 million Americans owe more than $1.8 trillion in debt. By the way, I'm one of them. I'm still paying off my student debt. Look, it's hard enough to deal with student loan debt. Students shouldn't have to shoulder the additional burden of an unscrupulous lender. Our settlement is going to provide real relief for many struggling borrowers, including more than 15,000 people here in my home Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And this is also just one piece of the broader effort to hold Navient accountable and help the millions of young families and borrowers of all types with the unprecedented scale of student loan debt in our country. I'm so grateful to the hard work and dedication of the attorneys general on this Zoom and others across this country, and our staff, especially Nick Smith on my team, who have worked tirelessly for the last 4 years across all of our offices. As the lead states on this case, we all played an important role in bringing about this resolution today, and I'm so grateful to each and every one of them. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to the aforementioned Attorney General Bob Ferguson of Washington State, who will discuss our allegations further against Navient. Thank you so much. Bob?
Hey, Josh, thanks so much for that and all your work, and to all my colleagues on the call. It's great to see you all, and this has been a great partnership. Josh, you're talking about your experience of paying back loans, and it reminded me back in 1995, that's when I graduated from law school in 95. And I graduated with $100,000 in law school debt, which I got to say, back in 1995, that felt like an awful lot of money to me. And it was stressful that I had that kind of debt. Now, I was lucky that I had a good job at a good law firm here in Seattle, and I had very tolerant parents who allowed me to move back home and live in the basement while I got my feet underneath me and figured out how I could afford to pay the rent and my loans at the same time. But as we all know, not everybody is so fortunate who borrows money. And the one thing I can imagine during that stressful time of having that debt is having a loan servicer who's not playing by the rules and exploiting that stressful situation I have and making it worse for me. And that's exactly what Sallie Mae Navient did over many, many years. And that's not okay. And that's why we're holding them accountable today. Now, one thing that Josh mentioned, I just want to go in just a bit more detail, is this issue of forbearance that Navient pushed borrowers into. And this was a key reason why Washington filed its lawsuit a number of years ago now. And that is that when long-term borrowers who are in a financial distress would reach out to Navient looking for assistance, what Navient did was deceive them. Navient, as Josh, as you pointed out, sort of promised to help these borrowers, promised to help them as they dealt with these long-term loans stretched out over many years when they're in financial distress. And all they got when they contacted Navient was a push into a bad plan, this forbearance plan, which was bad for borrowers because all that did was tack on interest on top of interest. It was sort of a short-term fix that was very convenient for Navient, very easy for Navient, but was bad for many thousands of borrowers across our country. And so as a result, when students stopped making payments, that interest accumulated and that accrued interest got added on to their loan principal. And they paid interest on that interest and got deeper and deeper into debt as a result. The reality is there were alternatives to forbearance, alternatives that Navient chose not to disclose or talk through with those borrowers when those borrowers called for help, when they were in that stressful situation, trying, as Josh said, to get their feet underneath them, to buy that home, to start that business, to do something with their lives that they wanted to do. Instead, Navient took the easy way out. So there are income-driven payment plans that have all sorts of benefits for borrowers, including, for example, after 25 years, those payments, having the ability to have debt forgiveness on your loans, as just one example. But Navient wanted the easy way out. They deceived those borrowers. They did not provide information about those alternatives and drove them into these forbearance plans that were bad for borrowers, but good for Navient. And that's not how it works. You have responsibilities as a corporation to play by the rules, to follow the rules, and not to deceive consumers. In this case, thousands and thousands and thousands of borrowers across our country. So that was a key reason why Washington State brought this lawsuit years ago. And I'm proud that in Washington State, we got a ruling from a judge on one of our issues that said Navient violated the law. We've been litigating this case for some time. And I was talking to Kwame Raoul, my colleague from Illinois, before we opened this up, about how it was great working with Illinois in the beginning. Washington, Illinois were the first two states to file lawsuits. So we had a special connection, of course, with Illinois throughout this process. And so it's really my great honor to introduce my colleague from Illinois, Kwame Raoul. Kwame.
Thanks so much, Bob. And thank you to everyone for being here, especially to our Attorney General partners for all their hard work collectively on this matter. It is only because of the dedicated work of our respective offices working together that we're here today. And we hope to continue these productive partnerships moving forward on a variety of issues. It's been a long road to get here. My office has been investigating Navient since 2013, and as Bob mentioned, we filed suit in 2017. Americans across the nation are struggling with their student loan debt, and too many are ending up in loans they simply cannot afford. When they experience issues with making repayments on their student loans, they should be able to turn to their servicer for accurate information as well as trustworthy guidance. That was not the case here. Instead of helping struggling borrowers get into repayment plans based on their income, Navient chose to steer people into forbearances or provided inaccurate information about important benefits, as Bob mentioned, like public service loan for forgiveness programs. But Navient didn't just service loans, they originated loans as well. As part of our investigation and litigation, we uncovered and alleged that Navient, operating as Sallie Mae, made private predatory loans to students attending for-profit colleges. Students who Navient knew would not be able to repay. these underperforming, overpriced, and often deceptive for-profit colleges compound the financial harm to these borrowers. These are people who may have just received a loan they cannot afford to attend a school that doesn't provide the results that are promised. Many of the schools which Navient provided loans for are schools which my office and my colleagues across the nation have investigated. For example, ITT, Alta College, which operated in Illinois as Westwood, Career Education Corporation, and Education Management Corporation. Today's settlement represents a continuation of the important work we've done to address the problems caused by such predatory institutions. Wherever the students attended, Navient's private student loan program buried these students into debt by targeting those unlikely to be able to repay with high interest loans. High interest private loans like these are an ongoing problem. Federal data shows that more than half of undergraduate students took out a private student loan, even though they were still eligible for more affordable federal student loans. Federal loans offer more protections, more flexible repayment options, and generally cost less than private loans. That's why just this past year, my office worked to pass legislation which we called Know Before You Owe. This is a new law which aims to alert borrowers of their remaining federal student loan eligibility to help them steer clear of predatory private loans. And Navient's conduct harmed communities in all of our states, and not just here in Illinois. As we've seen, borrowers overburdened with student loan debt put off buying homes or getting married, starting families even. Borrowers need to be able to make affordable payments and be provided correct information by the very company compensated to provide them the same. Today's settlement provides substantial student loan relief in all of our states. And it includes a broad array of injunctive relief that I believe will curb the worst practices of servicers. It will hopefully serve as a template for reform across an industry in desperate need of it. Again, I'd like to thank the many Attorney General offices joining in the settlement for their partnership. I hope to continue working productively with all of you to continue to address these important issues in higher education and beyond. Now I'd like to hand things over to my colleague from Massachusetts, Attorney General Maura Healey, to talk about some of the relief being provided in the settlement. Maura, the ball's yours.
Thank you, AG Raul. It's great to be with you. It's great to be with my AG colleagues as we make this important announcement today. I want to thank them and their teams. And in particular, I want to thank my Massachusetts team, Arwen Toman and Glenn Kaplan, who have been national leaders in looking to hold servicers accountable and secure relief for borrowers. All of us have been working together to work to try to address issues with this industry and fix this flawed industry. And in Massachusetts, I know that Arwen and Glenn have heard, and I have as well, from so many people who are trapped in mounting unaffordable student loan debt because Navient failed to counsel them about ways to manage their loans, and instead, as you've heard, put them into forbearance after forbearance for years at a time. AG Ferguson explained why this forbearance steering process, while quick and easy for servicers like Navient, has been disastrous and long-lasting for hundreds of thousands of student borrowers across this country. You also heard about Navient's origination of unfair subprime student loans from AG Raul. These loans, as he says, were doomed to fail from the start, and Navient knew it. Bottom line, student borrowers already facing financial hardships were simply driven further into debt. And these debt burdens have held back families from buying homes, as General Shapiro says, cars, saving for retirement, pursuing careers, or investing in their children. So here's what today's settlement does. First of all, Navient is going to provide $142.5 million, including $95 million in restitution to compensate 350,000 federal loan borrowers who were placed in certain types of long-term forbearances by Navient. So 142 million to 350,000 student loan borrowers. Number two, Navient has also agreed to forgive $1.7 billion in debt for distressed borrowers with certain types of private loans made after 2002. This means subprime private student loans owed by approximately 66,000 borrowers across the country will be wiped away. For many borrowers, removing this debt will be life-changing. This is going to include, for example, a first-generation college student who's going to receive $58,000 in debt relief after struggling for years to make monthly payments and thinking she'd never be able to buy her own home due to her damaged credit. This will include a borrower who at the age of 18 had little guidance and was looking to navigate a student loan space. She's going to get $85,000 discharged for 6 private loans that were made. This also includes a former student, for example, of a predatory for-profit school and his mom who co-signed the loan. They're going to receive more than $100,000 forgiven after years of what the mom calls, quote, broken dreams, disappointment, and constant worry of not being able to pay off this debt. These are the stories. These are the reasons why we do this work. So borrowers and families who are watching and tuning in today, if you're eligible, you won't need to do anything to receive this relief. It will come to you. Payments will be sent in the mail to eligible federal loan borrowers later this year once the settlement is approved. One thing you can do is to go and update your contact information on the U.S. Department of Education's website, studentaid.gov. Navient will notify eligible private loan borrowers of the discharge of their private loans in writing by July of 2022. Navient will also alert the credit reporting bureaus about the canceled loans. In closing, we believe this settlement is a major moment in our collective work to help student borrowers across our states, but we know there is more to do with student loan debt topping $1.8 trillion, thanks to a system that is too complex, fundamentally broken, and devastating. So we're going to continue to advocate for decisive action at the federal level to fix this broken system and fulfill the promise of income-driven repayment and an affordable path out of student loan debt. I want to thank you, and now want to welcome our Attorney General from California, Rob Bonta.
Good morning and good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for that introduction, Attorney General Healy. It's an honor to join you and Attorney General Shapiro and Ferguson and Raul this morning. I'm honored and thankful for the opportunity to partner to address the common challenges of the people of our state and the people of this nation. And I echo what's been said. This is a hard-fought victory for student loan borrowers. As a former student loan borrower myself, I'm in good company here with my fellow AGs. I know what it feels like to write painful triple-digit or even quadruple-digit checks every month. But that tough feeling pales in comparison to what Navient's exploited borrowers felt when they were trapped by poor servicing conduct and into expensive loans that they couldn't afford. Today, we take a step toward accountability. For California specifically, I know there's been some questions in the chat about what this means for each respective state. So for California, this settlement includes $11.5 million in direct restitution for 43,000 residents and approximately $261 million in private debt cancellation for those living in the Golden State. I'd like to thank and acknowledge all of the skilled attorneys and support staff across all our states who got us here. Your work makes a difference. Your public service and your commitment to the people of your states and this nation is appreciated. And I want to also certainly among that group include and thank the hardworking team in the California DOJ's Consumer Protection Section. Thank you to all of you for your great work. Navient has been one of the worst actors in the student loan servicing market. There's no other way to put it. The company exploited college dreams, systemically and systematically failing borrowers at all stages of repayment. This settlement isn't just a step toward accountability for these unscrupulous actions. In addition to the monetary relief and debt cancellation my colleagues discussed, today's settlement also includes significant injunctive terms to prevent Navient from engaging in future misconduct, in go-forward conduct. So I want to address some of those changes, some of that injunctive relief. Specifically, as a result of today's settlement, Navient must ensure that its call agents discuss the benefits of income-driven repayment with all borrowers seeking to lower or stop their payments. They need to create a new cadre of repayment specialists who are trained to advise at-risk borrowers. They need to stop compensating call agents in a manner that encourages them to handle calls quickly, and instead ensure agents give thorough and accurate information to borrowers. They need to implement significant changes to its payment processing procedures that will benefit borrowers, limit or reduce certain fees for late payments or entering forbearance, and finally, improve billing statements and other communications to better inform borrowers of their rights and of their obligations. Navient must also notify borrowers about the Department of Education's important changes to the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, which now offers millions of qualifying public servants new avenues for loan forgiveness. No matter your servicer, take advantage of these improvements to the program by visiting www.studentaid.gov today. Today's settlement, it's a big step forward to resolve the state's cases against Navient, but the fight to fix student lending and student loan servicing in this country is far from over. There's a $1.7 trillion student loan debt crisis in our country. We need the companies responsible for servicing federal loans to do better. And we need decisive action from Congress and the Department of Education to tackle the whole scope of this problem. So many of us have worked hard to achieve our college dreams, but for too many, these dreams have become horrific nightmares, trapped by crushing student loan debt. We must keep up the fight, holding companies accountable for exploiting borrowers and supporting needed reform at the federal level. We'll keep doing that in California. And I know based on today's announcement and the work, incredible work in so many states across this nation, I know we won't be alone. Proud to work together with everyone on this call and other AGs throughout the nation to fight for our students and for the people of this country. Thank you. And now I'll turn it over for any, I think, Q&A.